from the National News Studio, Sri Lanka.
Hello there, good evening and welcome to the National News Broadcast. I'm Niket Karunaratne together with Kasuni Balachandra. We'll start off with the headlines as usual.
Veteran singer Nihal Nelson passes away. 10 suspects arrested over the alleged assault on former Peradeniya University Vice-Chancellor and his son. They are remanded until the 22nd. The President says the participation of youth for the nation-building process is essential. The President instructs to prepare the background for the university staff to engage in their duties without any hindrances. Many measures undertaken for tourism promotion during the festive season. People's protests in Peru worsens.
We move on to those and other stories in detail. And in local news first, veteran singer Nihal Nelson passed away today.
He was 76 years of age at his demise. Late Nihal Nelson is considered a revolutionary artist in the Sri Lankan music scene, showcasing his talents as a singer, lyricist and a music composer. Born on the 9th of January 1946, Nihal Nelson passed away at his residence today, taking his first steps into the Sri Lankan music scene with his debut song Lassanata Pipunu Vanamal on the 31st of March 1963. Late Nihal Nelson remained a popular figure for over 5 decades. Rosa Malukui Nelum Malukui and Kiridunne Daruwantai are only a few of his popular songs which continue to linger in the hearts of music fans in the country. He is also the first artist to release his album on a CD format in Sri Lanka. Nihal Nelson has produced over 113 albums and sung over 5,000 songs during his career. The remains of the late Nihal Nelson are kept at his residence at number 17 Nihal Nelson Mawata, Rawatavatta, Moratuwa. The final rites will be held on the 16th of December at 4 p.m. in Kalapu Premises Ground in Lunava.
10 suspects arrested over the alleged assault on former Vice-Chancellor of Peradeniya University and his son have been remanded until the 22nd of December. They were remanded after producing them before the Kandy Magistrates Court this evening. Investigations are underway to arrest 2 suspects related to the incident. The suspected students allegedly involved in the assault on former Vice-Chancellor of Peradeniya University, Atalasena Ratna, and his son on the 10th of December were arrested after they surrendered to the Peradeniya police station last night. President Ranil Wickremesinghe has requested stakeholders of law and order to prepare the necessary background for academic and non-academic staff in universities to carry out their duties without interference. Cabinet spokesman Minister Bandula Gunawardena said that the President made this request during the Cabinet meeting held yesterday.
Minister Bandula Gunawardena said that President Ranil Wickremesinghe called for a comprehensive probe into the inflow of drugs within the university system. The minister said that the President instructed the security forces to proceed with the relevant investigations. He further said that universities have a history related with criminality, as several incidents of murder and torture involving both students and lecturers have been reported in the past. The minister said that the university system can be protected if strict measures, including the suspension or cancellation of studentship, are taken against those who are involved in illegal activities. The minister also made remarks over the purchasing of new aircrafts by the Sri Lankan Airlines during the briefing. The minister said that when a business collapses, then such institutions cannot be restructured. Accordingly, he said that in order to sustain Sri Lankan Airlines, the leasing period of the aircrafts should be maintained. Therefore, he said that a decision was reached to acquire the relevant aircrafts on a leasing basis to maintain the business and then proceed with the restructuring process. He also commented on the present token strike of the Postal Department. Minister Gunawardena said that he has instructed the Postmaster General to issue the 6 demands made by the union to the media.
State Minister Ranjit Siambalapitiya says despite the inconvenience caused on certain public officials through the revised retirement age limit to 60 years, the government is compelled to enforce this initiative as a policy decision. The State Minister made these remarks while responding to a query raised by opposition leader Sajith Premadasa today in Parliament. Opposition leader Sajith Premadasa said that the Staff Advisory Committee of the Parliament convened and discussed over the implications of the revised retirement age following the retirement of several parliamentary staff members. He said that certain state officials have taken loans from banks after the retirement age was extended to 65 years. However, those who retire at the end of this year in Parliament have been forced to settle their loans, the opposition leader pointed out. State Minister Ranjit Siambalapitiya said that over 25,000 public officials across the country have been affected due to the revised retirement age. He said that the Treasury has to address this pertaining issue in the national level and not limited to only one institution. Accordingly, he said that the Treasury is at a stance to ensure the policies in the country beyond other requirements. Speaker Mahinda Apabewardena pointed out that the Parliament is an independent institution. State Minister Siambalapitiya further said that the public observed the issue in one perspective, despite the institution being independent or not. He said that a program has been formulated and enacted to revise the retirement age limit to 60 years. Therefore, he said that the independent status of the Parliament should be ensured and protected as per the stance of the Treasury. President Ranil Wickremesinghe said that the National Youth Platform is a great opportunity for the youth to present their vision of the country's future to the government.
The President said this during a discussion on the special project to be introduced under the National Youth Platform in conjunction with the 75th Independence Day celebration that was held this morning at the Presidential Secretariat.
The preliminary plan for engaging the university system in this project was presented by the Presidential Director of Youth Affairs and Sustainable Development, Randula Abevira. The participating university chancellors presented their ideas and suggestions regarding this plan. President Wickremesinghe said that the future development plans of the country should be prepared not for today but for the next 25 years, and the expectation is to maximize the contribution of the youth. This plan will introduce a series of programs mainly targeting the tourism industry. The President also highlighted the importance of engaging the university's youth in this program. A project aimed at promoting the tourism industry in Sri Lanka has been planned to be implemented in the districts of Colombo, Galle, Jaffna, Kandy and Batticaloa with the participation of university students.
The city's involvement in tourism, we'll be having January, we are bringing out the new tourist policies. So at that time, we'll get you all connected. 2-3 other issues which I thought I'll mention. One is that we are from next year going to play a more active role in climate change. There will be a large number of laws that come in. So I think the universities can also be galvanized. In addition, we want to have a university for climate change, which will basically be a postgraduate university for the whole Africa, Asia, everywhere. So we can have part of them be postgraduates, masters or doctorates, but a fair number will be people who come there, do a 3-week course, one month course, 2 months course, officials from different countries and go back. So something like 1,500 places for that really works out to about 10,000 or 15,000 passing through. I want major multilaterals to be informed because they can be the stakeholders and they can pay for the people who come. So that hopefully we can get that university together with a part in Maldives. But when that begins, when the project is to be done, I will speak to you all. So far, there is no university which deals with climate change. Stanford has got one school which they started 2 years ago. So this is a good opportunity to build on this. And two other universities which will also be postgraduate. One is the University of Agrotechnology, which will have the TRI, RRI, CRI, Paddy Research Institute, the post-harvest, then the Obekadu Institute, the National Institute of Plantation Management, the other research agencies there, which will get tied up and then tied to the universities which are doing agriculture, and another one of government and public policy will most probably merge SLEDA and that local government institute into one good college. They will have the Institute of Strategic Studies, Kadirigama Institute, which will be restructured, a new Institute of Economics and Trade, Institute of Women, and the J.R. Jayawardena Cultural Center, which will be turned into a J.R. Jayawardena Center for Parliamentary Politics, work with the MPs and parties. So that will be two other universities that we are planning to bring out. But outside that, what I want to talk to you is about that here is one, before I come to the main topic, is discipline. And I told them to take action in what happened in Peradeniya, and we hope, and we will be, as the IG says, we've been talking regularly, we will be taking action whenever there is a breach of law. The staff cannot be under threat. That cannot be allowed and under any circumstances. Secondly, we will be looking for an organized program to stop ragging, which will also start sometime next year, both on ragging and drugs, which will have to play a role in the universities. So those headaches we'll give you later. At the moment, the biggest event is how do we make Sri Lanka regional hub for education? On one hand, we have to look at the role of the present universities. How are we going to adjust to it? On the other hand, we are opening out for non-government universities. So there will be competition. Firstly, I think you will have to discuss among yourselves what is the role for the state universities. Are we going to be mainly focusing on first degrees, or are we looking at postgraduate and first degrees? We are looking at a 25-year long-term program. That long-term program means that India will have at least another 300 to 400 million people. I think the whole, from Indonesia onwards, there will be a large number here. Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nepal, India, Myanmar, and then on to Africa. So in the case of India, Pakistan and Bangladesh, they just can't be building more universities. If you build here, then you have to plan to get both the undergraduate degrees and the postgraduate degrees. So but we have to start planning now.
The President, who expressed his views on ragging, advised the Vice-Chancellors to implement an organized program to prevent ragging at universities. The President emphasized how the structure of the university system should be changed to create universal access to university education. Expressing his views, the President said that there were practical issues in providing government jobs for university graduates, adding that programs and training courses should be introduced to develop university students' skills to meet the job market requirements. The President also emphasized the measures needed to be taken to make Sri Lanka a regional education hub, also pointing out the possibility of providing an opportunity to students from regional countries such as India, Bangladesh and Pakistan to study in Sri Lankan universities. In addition, the President also mentioned that another state university is planned to be established in the Kurunegala district.
Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena called on the United Nations to declare a Humanity Day under the UN calendar. He made this request while speaking at the International Convention of Peacemakers for Universal Harmony held yesterday. The Prime Minister urged the participants to examine his proposal and take up following action as the rapid deterioration of human values is a dangerous threat to the mankind. A declaration of a humanity deal will emphasize the imperative need for promoting human values to the global community, especially to the world leaders, he said. The Prime Minister urged delegates to deliberate the important issue of peacemaking and harmony and come up with ideas and suggestions as well as possible ways and means of disseminating this concept to the world at large. International Convention of Peacemakers for Universal Harmony has been jointly organized by Maharshi Aravind Foundation and Ethnic Science Foundation in Colombo from December 12th to 16th. Cabinet approval has been granted for the resolution to upgrade urban councils of Ampara and Mana into municipal councils. The relevant proposal was presented by Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena.
Approval of the Cabinet of Ministers was granted at their meeting held on August 8th for taking measures to convert the urban councils in several districts into municipal councils without spending additional allocations and utilizing the existing infrastructure facilities, office facilities and human resources. The Cabinet of Ministers approved the proposal presented by the President to instruct legal draftsmen to prepare a bill for the amendment of the Parliamentary Elections Act No. 1 of 1981. It has been recognized that it is desirable to amend the Parliamentary Elections Act to include provisions specifying the steps that can be taken in case of violation of the Code of Conduct issued by the Elections Commission. The proposal presented by Minister Vijayadasa Rajapaksa to instruct the legal draftsman to prepare a bill to include articles in the Penal Code criminalizing sexual assault and all forms of sexual harassment, and to introduce a new section to give severe punishment and to make sexual bribery an offence was approved by the Cabinet of Ministers.
A grant worth $82,192 has been extended for the documentation and conservation of the Gudavaya shipwreck and its artifacts. The grant to Sri Lanka's Central Cultural Fund has been directed from the US Ambassador's Fund for Cultural Preservation. The Gudavaya, originally discovered by two Sri Lankan divers, is the oldest known shipwreck in the Asia-Pacific region and one of the oldest sunken vessels to be discovered in the world. The grant was announced during a ceremony held at the Maritime Archaeological Museum inside the Dutch fort. U.S. Ambassador Julie Chong, Secretary to the Ministry of Buddha Sasana, Religious and Cultural Affairs, Somaratna Vidhanapatirana, and Director General of Central Cultural Fund, Professor Gamini Ranasinghe, were present at this occasion. U.S. Ambassador Chung said that the United States expects to help preserve and promote Sri Lanka's cultural heritage by documenting the important role that the country has played as a hub for the Indo-Pacific region's travelers and traders from its earlier days. The Gudavaya, located near Hambantota port, includes a mound of corroded metal bars and a scattering of other ancient cargo, including glass ingots and pottery. The documentation and conservation funded through the grant will be undertaken by the Maritime Archaeology Unit of the Central Cultural Fund. Documentation of the site and engagement with U.S. experts on Indo-Pacific trade routes and shipwrecks will increase global understanding trade in the Indo-Pacific and especially Sri Lanka's role in this rich history. Artifacts will also be on display to the public in the Maritime Archaeological Museum in Galle once the project has been completed.
The Ministry of Tourism has taken steps to initiate many programs targeting the development of the tourism industry during the festive season. The theme of this series is Sri Lanka Can Visit. The aim is to convince tourists that Sri Lankan is a nation that can stand back on its own feet. Minister Harin Fernando said that the streets in Colombo, along with the main roads, will be beautified with various decorations on the 18th of December. Accordingly, he said that the Sri Lankan Army has initiated a special program in the surrounding areas. He added that from the 19th to the 28th, an entertainment zone with various outlets from star hotels in the country will be established for the general public under the Lotus Tower at concessionary rates. He also said that a police canine show will be held near the Presidential Secretariat. He added that the public will be able to experience an interesting 31st night with more than 30 artists participating in a musical show to entertain the masses. The minister said that the national television will keep the public updated over the developments of this new series.
Driver of the motor car involved in a fatal accident in Kolpiti recently has been arrested at the Katnaik International Airport. The suspect was arrested upon his arrival to the country. A motor car had crashed onto a three-wheeler from behind while travelling from Bambalapitiya towards Kolpiti on Saturday morning. The driver of the three-wheeler had succumbed on the spot, according to the Kolpiti police. Following the accident, the suspect fled the scene and left for Dubai at around 9:55 a.m. On the same day, the immigration officers had taken the suspect into custody upon his return from overseas last night. Subsequently, the suspect was handed over to the police and later taken to the Kolpiti police station. The police have indicated that the suspect is a 26-year-old resident of Valampitiya. The police have also arrested two individuals who had assaulted one female among two of the passengers of the car following the incident. They have been released on bail after producing them to the courts. The suspect has been remanded until the 16th of December.
Steps have been taken to initiate a ferry service between India and Sri Lanka. A discussion in this regard was held at the Ministry of Ports, Naval and Aviation Services today. The ferry service is expected to operate by connecting several coastal cities in South India with Kankasanthurei, Trincomalee and the Colombo ports. As the first phase of the project, the ferry services will begin between Kankasanthurei and Pondicherry in January. A considerable foreign exchange is expected to be earned through this initiative. The ferry owners taking part in the meeting said that a duration of 3.5 hours will be taken to travel to one destination, and a ferry is able to carry around 300 to 400 passengers in one turn. $60 will be charged from a passenger for a journey, and the passengers will be able to carry up to a maximum of 100 kilograms of luggage. Minister Nimal Siripala de Silva was also present on this occasion.
The government has decided to withdraw from the fertilizer distribution program. A decision has been reached to deposit the relevant funds as a subsidy to the bank accounts of the farmers. Attention of the Minister of Agriculture has been directed to initiate this program from the 2023-2024 Maha season. Minister Mahinda Amaraveera made these remarks during a meeting held at the Hambantota District Secretariat yesterday. The government bears 1,500 million rupees for the island-wide distribution of fertilizer. Accordingly, government has directed its attention to allocate over 50,000 rupees per hectare for the purchasing of fertilizer. This program aims to accelerate the fertilizer distribution mechanism. Two agrarian organizations in Athumalpitiya, Polonnaruwa have refused the fertilizer subsidy extended by the government. The farmers have claimed that the distributed fertilizer are substandard despite the lower rates.
Now, this year marks the 70th anniversary of the establishment of the diplomatic relations between Japan and Sri Lanka. Accordingly, a conference was organized to develop trade and economic ties between the two countries and to promote bilateral businesses. The event, organized by the Sri Lanka-Japan Business Council of the Ceylon Chamber of Commerce and Japan Chamber of Commerce and Industry in Sri Lanka, was held in Colombo yesterday. Ambassador of Japan to Sri Lanka, Mizukoshi Hideaki, and Ambassador of Sri Lanka to Japan, Rodney Pereira, delivered the speeches during the event. State Minister Shehan Semasinghe was also present on this occasion. The Sri Lanka-Japan Business Council website was launched by Ambassador of Japan to Sri Lanka Hideaki during the event.
I would like to extend my congratulations on the opening of this event, co-hosted by JCCI and SLJBC. This year, 2022, marks the 70th anniversary of the establishment of the diplomatic relations between Japan and Sri Lanka. Holding this joint forum in this milestone year couldn't be more timely, as it gathers both Japanese businessmen doing business in Sri Lanka and Sri Lankan companies doing business with Japan, and provides them with opportunities to discuss business issues and challenges in the presence of the relevant state minister, high-ranking officials of Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka is facing the worst economic crisis since its independence. Sri Lankan government is working on the prior actions and economic reforms to seek the approval of the staff-level agreement at the IMF board. The budget 2023, approved by the parliament, calls for transformation of Sri Lanka to an export-oriented and competitive economy by way of expanding exports and inward direct investment. I hope Sri Lanka will overcome this economic crisis through a series of economic reforms with the commencement of assistance from the IMF and successful debt restructuring. Such reforms would hopefully bring about an enhanced business environment, which in turn would facilitate trade and investment between our two countries. Also, in the short term, it is important to deepen our cooperation in the tourism sector, which is key to Sri Lanka's economic revitalization and robust sustainable development. According to JCCI, Japanese companies in Sri Lanka employ more than 10,000 people and earn more than $100 million of foreign currency annually, which is equivalent to about 9% of Sri Lanka's monthly export value. Moreover, Osaka Kansai Japan Expo 2025, that will be held in April 2025, will be a great opportunity to attract attention from Japan in the field of trade, investment, and tourism for Sri Lankan business entities. Sri Lankan government has already expressed its participation at this event. 7 decades back, Sri Lanka devoted great efforts to helping Japan return to the international community. In this milestone year for our two countries, I would like to reiterate our firm commitment that Japan always stands with Sri Lanka when it is facing the most difficult time.
In the last 15 years, FDI from Japan has amounted to US $420 million, a figure that I hope to see increasing rapidly in the near future due to the collective efforts of all of us gathered here today. There is much potential for further investment, especially in identified manufacturing subsectors such as pharmaceuticals and medical devices, apparel and textiles, electrical and electronic products, auto components, and other machinery and appliances. To encourage more Japanese investments into Sri Lanka, the BOI has entered into MOUs with Bank of Tokyo, Mitsubishi UFJ, and Mizuho Bank Limited in 2014, both globally reputed Japanese banks. The Board of Investment of Sri Lanka, in collaboration with the Japanese Chamber of Commerce and Industry of Sri Lanka, also annually organized the Japan-Sri Lanka Government-Private Joint Forum to support Japanese investors in Sri Lanka for 11 consecutive years up until October 2019. And I'm pleased to note this event being given new life following the inevitable lapse of the last couple of years.
What we want to do specifically for Japan next year, our investments are going to be, with our key target markets are going to be doing FAM tours, bringing in tour groups. Because the thing is, the negative media that was created along, unfortunately, what happened within April, May, June, and July. My challenge is to revive this country and country's image. So my task is to market Sri Lanka in a positive manner. You can always get wounded within a second, but the healing process takes time. And this time, the healing process has to happen in a mind. And mind in people in other countries to take that negative image out of Sri Lanka. So that's why we want people to come to Sri Lanka, especially the media side, the tour operators, and to see. It's seeing is believing. There is an economic crisis. Yes, there is a problem. Some certain sectors of this in Sri Lanka could not get their all 3 meals. But the solution, instant solution, is tourism. So that we need all the support, and especially because we are talking about Japan, like I said, we've had a very strong relationship, and I'm thankful for that, and I hope we can continue this relationship in a much more stronger, positive manner for the future.
Suspect E. Kushan, who was in remand custody in connection with the human trafficking in Oman, was granted bail by the Colombo Chief Magistrate today. The suspect was released on 100,000 rupees worth surety bail and 2 personal bails with each worth 1 million rupees. The court ordered the suspect to report to Criminal Investigation Department on every Sunday. The department officers informed the courts that a group of officers has been deployed to Oman to conduct a thorough investigation. Meanwhile, convener of Inter-University Students Federation, Vasanta Mudarige, has been further remanded until the 17th of January. Accordingly, the Colombo Magistrates Court ordered Terrorism Prevention Bureau to present a compressed submission with all evidence against the suspect on the same day.
A new research and training centre to conduct studies and products related to water will be unveiled tomorrow in Televala, Ratmalana. The new centre will operate under the Water Supply and Drainage Board. The relevant financial assistance has been directed through the Asian Development Bank, JICA and the Government of China. The new centre is equipped with modern technological facilities. An international water summit in parallel to the opening will be held from the 14th of December till the 16th. Now, the Chief of the Naval Staff of India, Admiral R. Harikumar, who is currently on an official visit to Sri Lanka, met with the Defence Secretary General Kamal Gunaratne.
The meeting was held at the Defence Ministry in Sri Jayawardhanapura Kotte. The Defence Secretary welcomed Admiral R. Harikumar upon his arrival to the Ministry of Defence. Accordingly, they exchanged views on the security and diplomatic affairs between Sri Lanka and India. Admiral R. Harikumar met with Commander of the Navy Vice Admiral Nishanta Ulugathanna at the Navy headquarters. He arrived on the island on the 9th of December 12th on a 6-day official visit aiming to bolster existing bilateral maritime cooperation between the two navies.
The first female president of Rotary International, Jennifer Jones, has selected Sri Lanka for the World President to visit under the theme, The Imagine Tour of Jennifer Jones. Rotary International President Jennifer Jones will officially launch many a flagship project in Sri Lanka. The Rotary International President Jennifer will visit the Stock Exchange of Sri Lanka to highlight the importance of environmental sustainability and responsibility by the private sector. That includes gender diversity and inclusive decision-making in the corporate world. She will hand over the first consignment of medicines to the Ministry of Health of Needy Medicines in the $10 million Lifeline project that is funded by Rotary in partnership with UNICEF. The RI President will launch the Cancer Detection Centre in partnership with the Ministry of Health during her visit. Rotary will also provide 500 IT scholarships from a campus in the Philippines, together with the Sri Lankan Embassy in the Philippines, for the youth in the country.
And in your foreign news tonight, anti-government protesters blocked roads and stormed the international airport in Peru's second city, Arequipa, as deadly unrest intensified yesterday. Supporters of leftist former President Pedro Castillo took to the streets in anger at his impeachment and arrest. Dina Boluarte, his successor and former deputy, proposed bringing general elections forward by 2 years to April 2024 in response to the protests. But former President Castillo called Ms. Boluarte's plans a dirty game.
Cut to me, Fantamai!
sports news, Sri Lanka has managed to qualify for the semi-finals of the World Blind Cricket Championship after defeating Nepal today.
The tournament is currently underway in India. Nepal, batting first, scored 87 runs for the loss of 7 wickets in 15 overs. Sri Lanka chased down the target with 7 wickets in hand in the 7th over. Chandana Deshapriya scored 40 runs. Sri Lanka managed to win all 4 matches played in the tournament so far.
Prima Katumi, Fantamai.
And that's all the news for today. Join us again at the same time tomorrow. Good night.
Good night.